Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. It's about that time that the Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Prime really start to turn it up on the recruiting trail. We've seen it every single cycle since Coach Prime has been at Colorado. These last 2 weeks, the flips start to come in. Now we're going to talk about some targets that I think would be an ideal finish for Colorado in this 2025 class. I'm still working on, my transfer portal list for Colorado, getting some names that I want to talk about. But first things first, we got to sign a 2025 class that strong. And Colorado is really starting to build up some momentum over the last couple of weeks, and specifically with IMG Academy kids. And then if there is one program from across the country that you would like to build a pipeline with, IMG is probably that number one school. I mean, they just routinely pump out guys that not only are going to be really good college football players, they pump out players that will be ready to play early at the college football landscape. Because you look at IMG as a program and say, that's basically a college football program for high school kids. So we normally see guys make that transition pretty damn smoothly, as we saw with left tackle Jordan Seaton this year for Colorado. Want to get into, 5 or 6 names that I think are most intriguing to me for this Colorado program. Now, before we get into it, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and to the Colorado fans. One, the amount of support y'all have shown the boys over the last 12 months has been amazing. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, it's going to be busy over the next couple of weeks. We saw Colorado take a massive step in the right direction in 2024. They're going to be looking to take another step in 2025. And we know they're going to get active in the transfer portal. So appreciate you guys rocking with it. A lot to talk about over the next couple of weeks. Without further ado, let's get into these 2025 kids now. The first one I want to talk about, 4-star, I'm going to call him a defensive lineman because I do think he can play multiple spots on the defensive line. London Merritt was committed to Ohio State for a very long time, decommits from Ohio State. I believe this afternoon, he's trending heavily towards Colorado. And it sounds like Colorado is going to land him. You look at London Merritt, when and if he does commit, we'll dive into the film a little bit. What I love most about London Merritt's that blend between this dude's hands are about as heavy as you'll see at the high school ranks. I mean, some real power in his hands, but he blends it with some really intriguing athleticism as well. And I think one of the things that excites me the most about London Merritt is he's really versatile. Like, I think he could be a guy that plays out on the edge because he has that kind of athleticism. But then you look at him play at the high school ranks, they move him into the 3-tech spot. I think that's probably where he settles in. And if you get the weight on London Merritt, which I do think he has the frame to get upwards of 280, 290 pounds, this dude could be an absolute force on the inside of the defensive line. One, because I think the play strength is good enough to hold up on the inside. I think more importantly, he's a freaky athlete for that size. And if you maintain the athleticism, put on a little bit of weight, I think these interior offensive linemen are just going to struggle with what London Merritt can do from an athleticism standpoint. I think I'm not necessarily going to comp him to a guy like Chidozie Nwankwo, but you look at Chidozie and say Chidozie's not. I mean, he's kind of a fire hydrant, right? A little bit short, a little bit stockier, but he's not 325 pounds. But he's a premier athlete that knows how to be really active and disruptive on the inside of the defensive line. London Merritt, to me, that kind of guy. And again, I think he's going to be ready to rock and roll early. And I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be exciting to track where he settles in for Colorado. We talk about it. Colorado is going to have no problem at all recruiting the quarterback spot, recruiting the wide receiver position, all the skilled positions, cornerbacks, they're going to come to Colorado. We've seen that since Coach Prime has gotten there. If Colorado wants to maintain the standard they set in 2024, the biggest thing is continuing to stockpile guys along the line of scrimmage. The best way to do that is the high school ranks. London Merritt, really, really like him. Next one I want to talk about, and as a Michigan fan, it's coming down to Colorado and Michigan, Nathaniel Usub, premier athlete at the off-ball backer position. And this is a position that, one, I think the Colorado's selling point here is, hey, you come to Colorado, you're probably going to be in the 2-deep, arguably playing a lot of football early on in your career at Colorado, because you look at guys like Bentley and Nikai Hill-Green moving on after this year. He's a much better athlete than a guy like Levante Bentley. And I think Levante Bentley has been damn solid along with Nikai Hill-Green. I think we saw in that Kansas game the lack of athleticism for a guy like Levante Bentley, kind of hurt Colorado. Look, in this modern era of college football, especially in the conference in the Big 12, teams are going to want to try to spread you out, throw it all around the yard. You need linebackers who are speed in space, big time athletes. And Nathaniel Usub from a, close the distance between himself and the ball carrier playing in space, I don't think he gets much better. This is a guy that you probably got to put a little bit more weight on him, and he carries 205 extremely well. I mean, there is that body fat percentage, and I'm sure you all have seen the pictures of him. It's extremely low. You put on a little bit more weight. Kind of reminds me of Kobe Dean coming out of high school. A little bit shorter. Doesn't have the length that some linebackers do, but man, this dude is a human missile to the football, to the ball carrier. And I really do like him. And again, another IMG kid that Colorado seems to be gaining some traction with. Two more IMG kids I want to talk about. This is, in my opinion, the crown jewel for Colorado is Alabama commit Michael Carroll. If you're Colorado and Coach Prime, what you're selling is look at Jordan Seaton. I think these are very, very similar prospects in terms of all the things we said about Jordan Seaton coming out of IMG. You say the exact same thing about Michael Carroll. This is about as day one ready of an offensive line prospect that we see. And if you're Michael Carroll, you're looking at Jordan Seaton not having to wait any time before he gets on the football field and play really well as a true freshman. It's got to be an appealing situation for Mike Carroll to go into too. You commit to Alabama, you have a chance at playing year one, but probably not. I think he's a day one starter. And you look at Colorado and say Jordan Seaton at left tackle, potentially Mike Carroll at left guard. That is a powerhouse offside of the offensive line for the next couple of years. And so I look at Mike Carroll and say this dude, one could play tackle if he wants, but it sounds like he wants to play on the inside, is going to be damn good at it. Keep an eye on Mike Carroll. Now, the last IMG kid I want to talk about, a little bit of a lower ranking, but an intriguing prospect, Alexander McPherson. He kind of looks the part. He's long. He has a good get off the line of scrimmage. Now, currently committed to Oklahoma State. This is another prospect that I think Colorado's starting to turn it up on. Now, probably not as much of a day one guy as London Merritt is, but on the defensive line, this is a guy that you want to kind of take away and stash and see what he looks like in 2026 and in 2027. That you talk about Coach Prime Colorado really building this program up. You want to have some of these guys just stockpiled on the roster. Guys that might not play year one like some of the other freshmen that have come into Colorado do, but guys when they get into their sophomore, junior, senior year could blossom into really good football players. Alexander McPherson is that guy. Last guy I want to talk about, Carday Smith, kind of a similar conversation. Now ranked a little bit higher. To me, I look at Carday Smith and say probably needs a year to get that physicality up to start at tackle year one. So I think he's more of a year two, year three guy, but a guy that has tremendous athleticism for that frame. There's a reason that pretty much every Power 4 program in the country wants Carday Smith in their 2025 class. Again, recruiting the line of scrimmage position, that's by far the hardest position to address in the transfer portal. If you can build that pipeline up in terms of line of scrimmage players, I think that that's kind of how Coach Prime wants to do it. The last thing I'll note in terms of where Coach Prime and Colorado are going on the recruiting trail, there's really two factors that I think are really working in Colorado's favor. One is that this program's clearly going in the right direction. I think there were a lot of high school kids that were a little skeptical of going and playing for Coach Prime out of high school because he's taken over, one of the worst football teams in the country when Coach Prime got there. And you go, 5-7 the first year. And then you win 8 games the next year, and you're suddenly looking at Colorado and saying, all right, this is clearly going in the right direction. This is a program that could be competing at the highest level of the sport over the next couple of years. Having that see out and play out on the football field, I think matters for the high school kids. I think more importantly, you look at some of the best players on this Colorado team, the true freshmen that Colorado brought in, guys like Jordan Seaton, guy like Cash Cleveland on the inside, a guy like Draylon Miller, and say, if you're a freshman, you're looking at these kids and saying, hey, they're only 1 year older than me, and they're massive players and for Colorado and the success they're having on the football field. And so I look at it and say, yes, the program's going in the right direction, but for these kids to see so many true freshmen making an impact early for Colorado, that matters to me. And so we'll see how it plays out. I think we always know, Colorado, Coach Prime, he got some aces in his sleeves. I think we all know that. What aces does he have? That's what we're going to find out. We'll pause it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later.